All righty. Thank you so much for allowing me to record this portion of the interview, Scharie. It was very nice to meet you. We got our audio, video all squared away now. And so what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about your experience. So
Yes.
I understand you worked for a company for about 6 years where you were working in apartment complex, leasing, property management. Over those 6 years, you worked at different properties. You said maybe around 15 or so
Yes.
um, for those positions. So I'm going to give you the floor. Tell me about those 6 years and like what you were doing.
All right. For the 6 years before I was doing the case management, I was working for three different temporary companies, Liberty Group, Randstad, and BG Staffing. And so that allowed me to go to different types of properties. Some were tax credit, some were not, some were lease ups, and some were assisted living and independent living. So I've had a very wide range of different types of apartments that I've worked at.
Okay. When you were with the properties that were tax credit, did you ever work with a wait list there? Does that
Yes,
sound familiar? Okay.
yes.
And what is your knowledge of HUD?
And so I went through all the fair housing and things like that. So I'm very familiar with the HUD and their restrictions and what they're looking for.
Okay, perfect. And then as far as leasing, you have any wins to share? Any
Oh,
exciting?
well, leasing, like I said, the first part I loved about leasing, it was just making a difference in, a family. And so, I had so many people that were coming in that were needing places and, they didn't know anything about the city. And so I always take my people and take them under my wing. So
Mhm.
once you deal with me, you can always call back to me, whether you're lost in Charlotte and don't know where you need to go,
Yeah.
or, find out the best schools. But the most thing that I do is I listen to what they're asking for, what's important for them, and then I zone in on that, and then until I can close it.
All right.
So sales has
Wonderful.
always been my strong point. I want to make sure I'm making a difference.
Fabulous. I love that. You actually answered my next question because I was going to ask you about like what you do. If someone wasn't so happy, but you already told me about the listening. So I think we can go ahead and
I love when irate customers. I do, I
yeah.
do.
Okay. Tell
Because
me about that.
when I get an irate customer in my mind, at the end of this conversation, they're either going to be laughing or they're going to be thanking me so much for what I've done for them. So that gives me a challenge. So I love irate customers. I used to deal in a department, before I was doing, apartments. That was my department. Irate customers, send them to me. I'm going to see what I can do to change things around.
I love that. So then you left the apartment world for a few years and tell me what you started doing next.
And so when COVID hit in 2021, I said to myself, I've got to find my way to do my part to help out with everything that's going on. And so that's when I became a case manager, and that was a remote position. But with that remote position, we're talking to patients and they're submitting applications. We're processing the applications. We're talking to nurses and doctors, trying to get approvals and, setting up scheduling for the nurses and doctors. So it was a lot of different components to the job, but it was very interesting and it was very, very rewarding.
Okay. And you traveled a bit, you said,
Yes.
with that position. Okay. And so, but now you're back here in Daytona and you're looking
Yes,
to
ma'am.
go back into an office.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
I miss compliments.
Well, I love that. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this part of the interview, but don't go anywhere. We got a few more things to talk about.
All right. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.